What up, everybody, and welcome to Baz on Blades. My name is Baz, and I talk about blades, but today we are not going to talk about a blade. We're going to talk about a new firearm we got in about a week ago here at Baz on Blades, and that is the Taurus G3, the new Taurus G3. Everybody is so excited about it. 9mm, double stack, semi-auto striker fired with restrike capability. So double action. It's not truly double action, but it is restrike capability, guys. And a normal single action striker fire. It does have a manual safety like the G2C does. And in fact, what you've got here from Taurus is the newest family member of the G series. That the G2C is so popular in that series right now. The latest iteration of the PT-111 Millennium. Then it was the PT-111 Millennium G2, and then it was the G2C. And I do have my G2C. This is a current production G2C here. We're going to do this direct comparison video, guys, giving you, the firearms purchaser, the information you need to tell if you want to get the G3. And I'm pretty sure you're going to want to get it if you were a G2C fan and wanted a more refined version. That's what we've got here. It is slightly bigger. Taurus is calling the G3 a full-size firearm, and I personally disagree with that. Not to a crazy extent. It's just a different way we think about things. This to me is a compact service pistol. It's not a full-size pistol. It is the same relationship that the Commander size 1911 had with the government size. The relationship that the Glock 19 has with the Glock 17. This is what I consider a compact service pistol, the same size basically as a Glock 19. And then the G2C is what I consider to be a subcompact service pistol. And a lot of that, guys, is these what I consider to be service type pistols. They're thick, they're double stack pistols. So really, no matter how much you shrink them, they're still fatties, okay? And that's really one of the hardest things to hide with any type of carry on a pistol. Now, we need to safety check these pistols very quickly. Of course, they have been safety checked before I started the video. That's the only reason I'm handling them here. But we are going to be manipulating the trigger on both of these firearms today. So we want to make sure they are safe. And I'm not going to make fun of the safety Nazis today, because it really is, guys, if I'm going to be on here manipulating the trigger on these firearms, we do need to make sure that they're safe. And you can never check too many times. Sure, I checked them off camera, but what if some aliens came down while I wasn't looking and put some rounds in my pistols, and I picked it up and pulled the trigger, and somebody got hurt? Because you know what, guys? Stranger things have happened. Just look at the politics in the United States right now. That is craziness. All right, enough of that. Let's talk about some things that no other reviewer is talking about on the Taurus G3. The reviews, the way you see them, they go, okay, I got this Taurus G3, and I usually don't review budget pistols, but man, everybody's been asking me, and I just got this thing in. I haven't even cleaned it. I didn't even look at the manual, and I think that it's a double action pistol, double action striker fire. I don't know if I like that. That's got an awful long trigger pull, and that's just the way people review Taurus, because it's not the cool gun to review if you're an online reviewer. I don't even review guns. I'm a knife reviewer, and there's a lot of knives that I don't want to review. They're just not cool. But But just like in the knife world, that we are seeing a flood of super high quality budget knives, that is what we're seeing here. We are seeing those guns, quote unquote, those guns that you are seeing now spread across multiple brands at a quote unquote budget level. They're all great. They're all great, guys. The striker fired technology has been around so long. Since Glock did it, you know, everybody does it. They're just doing variations on a theme. So all these companies are basically refining each other's designs, changing one or two little things, and then shoving it at us like it's something totally different, and it's not. It's striker fired semi-auto pistols. But there are major changes between these two pistols, enough to where really they're a generational change. Now, I know we're changing from a subcompact to what I'm calling a compact service, or a full size, what Taurus is calling it, but really it's generations. The things that I'm going to show you on the G3, I just about guarantee when the G3C comes out to replace the G2C, it will have the new upgrades. So I'm going to call this a new generation of that G series. And, let's, it's a 4-inch barrel instead of the 3-inch barrel, longer grip for your 15 or 17 plus 1. Then the G2C is, of course, more compact. It's got a 3-inch barrel. It's got the grip length to accommodate a capacity of 12 plus 1. All right. And that's all that the reviewers are saying. But I'm going to tell you right now, there is a major difference in this grip that no one is talking about. And mostly because they don't have G2Cs on hand to do a direct comparison. But if you put this pistol in your hand and then you pick up the G3, there's a difference, guys. And I'm going to tell you what it is, because this is not just a G2C with a little bit longer grip and slide barrel. There are some differences. The first one we're going to talk about is the most important difference, I believe, and that is in the trigger. This is everything we wanted the G2C to be. Gone is the worst trigger dingus safety ever that was on the G2C. That is the worst trigger dingus safety that I have ever had the displeasure of pulling on. It's terrible, guys. Not the trigger pull itself, just the safety. It alone caused the complications and issues in the trigger pulls. Now, there's been a radical change here on the G3. The trigger shoe, totally different. The trigger safety blade, totally different. The way the safety blade interacts in the safety system, totally different, guys. It is totally different. When you pull the trigger on the G2C, it is in single action. It is charged. It's caught, guys. So you're going to pull through what is a take-up in single action mode. And people complain about that take-up, but we're also going to talk about that. And I'll tell you why it's got to be there, guys. But the issue with the trigger safety is this. Now, I pull back. You hear that click? You hear that? That is the trigger safety, guys. I don't know how the mechanism works. I'm not an engineer or a gun expert, but there is something in this trigger safety mechanism that is crap. It's crap, guys. There is a major catch there. If you at all under stress have pulled that trigger and it is not perfectly aligned for a straight back pull, then it can get worse. It can actually catch. That's a catch, guys, from me pulling while pushing one way on the trigger sideways. That is a catch. All right? That is horrible. The worst of its kind. Now, that is why that I have bought a just tinkering, single action only trigger for this G2C. It's going to take away the restrike capability, but I'm not worried about that. I've never had one round of center fire ammunition that didn't go off when I fired it. I just never have, and that noise was Jax up on the kitchen counter knocking stuff off while I'm doing my video. So everybody say hello to Jax. He's over there destroying everything. Jax the Destroyer. So anyway, guys, I'm going to change this trigger shoe out on this whenever I quit buying new firearms and just take the time to do it. And as you see, I've already changed out the sights on it. We'll talk about those a little bit. But this is going to go. There's no fixing it unless you just change it out. And that just tinkering trigger, it omits the trigger safety, which I am fine with in a striker fire pistol that has a manual safety. And that's the only way to get a G2C or a G3 is with a manual safety, guys. So you'll have to train. You'll have to train. You Glock guys, you don't like to train. You just like to shoot. You're going to have to train here, okay? So let's get over to this trigger right here. Look at this. It is totally different trigger shoe. What you've got is a trigger dingus, safety dingus, that is nearly 3 times as wide as the one in the G2C. Okay? It is nearly 3 times as wide, and it is fairly flat, guys. It pulls nearly fully recessed. So what it does is it gives you sort of a flat trigger face with a radius on each side. So a sort of a combination of flat face and traditional radius face. It is 1,000 times more comfortable than this terribly god-awful narrow safety dingus here. Look at this. It doesn't even recess enough in the trigger shoe. There's always this hard ridge that's going to be on your trigger finger when you are manipulating the trigger on the G2C. It's always going to be there, guys, and it's terrible. Not only the mechanical issues it causes, but the comfort level. Both are fixed on the G3. You've got the comfort level fixed, guys. This trigger is as comfortable as any polymer striker fired trigger that I've pulled on. It's just as comfortable, guys. I mean, if it was a Glock, you might want to change the trigger just to put something fancy colored or totally flat faced, or I mean, whatever you personally like, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with the comfort on this one. As far as the way that the change in the safety has modified the trigger pull, let's go ahead and cocker. We're going to do the full pull through single action. There is nothing there, guys. That is all take up. That's straight back take up. 1.5 pounds pull, maybe just a little bit of spring pressure. You pull straight through. You barely feel the mechanical nature of that trigger safety at all. It is seriously, guys. It's primo feeling now. It is primo feeling. I mean, look at the trigger shoe itself. I hate to get into minutia like this, but that trigger shoe and dingus looks cheap as something that starts with F, guys. This looks like a premium striker fired trigger is what it looks like. It looks just as good as Glock or anybody else, guys. It's pretty doggone good. It's pretty doggone good, and the catch from the safety is gone. 100% gone. Not just a little gone, guys. The whole mechanism is changed. It is gone. The catch is gone. The trigger is comfortable. Now, as far as the trigger pull, it is the same trigger pull, guys, and there's no getting away from that, because it is needed. That long trigger pull is needed because of the restrike capability. Just like in a double action hammer fired pistol or revolver, your trigger pull is going to cock the striker. Well, the striker's got to move, guys. If it's connected to your trigger pull's got to move. You've got to have the movement to get that striker cocked enough to have enough spring tension to fire that striker pin enough to set that round off. And those that already own a G2C know that the trigger pull, cocking the striker for the restrike, that is not as strong a hit as it is in single action mode with this restrike system. It's plenty strong enough to set the round off, but it is not as strong. You still don't cock it as far as the firearm actually reciprocating under its natural movement. Now, what you've got in that is, now on the single action, you've got all of this take up, guys. You've got it all, and then a super clean break. Let's look at that again. Let's look at that again. I'm going to let it all the way out and not shoot off the reset. You're going to take in the safety. This is all clean, just a little bit of spring pressure. You can instantly pull straight back to the wall. Now watch the trigger pull on the wall, guys. There's no creep. There's only the wall. You are hard against the wall, and it is a crisp wall. Now, on the single action, returning to reset, short reset, straight back on the wall, guys, and it's crisp. Listen to the sound of that break. That is a crisp break, guys. The only thing that I would change on the G3 trigger now, the only thing, even if there's aftermarket triggers, I don't want to change this trigger, guys. I like it. The only thing that I would change would be, I wish the break was 1 pound lighter. It's in the 5 pound range. I suspect they'll be in the 5 to 5.5 pound, the average range. But I prefer a trigger pull down around 4.5 pounds. That's just personal preference. If anybody ever does like a spring kit or whatever is required for this factory trigger to get it down to 4 to 4.5 pounds instead of the 5.5, that will be a winner. It will be a winner. Because this trigger is great, guys. The fitment, there's no play side to side in this trigger compared to the trigger setup in the G2C here, guys. Look at that. Everything about the trigger shoe, the trigger action, as far as the safety on the G2C was absolutely the cheapest feeling part of that pistol. Even the plastic sights, to me, felt more thought out and well realized than the trigger shoe, the safety, and that safety mechanism did. On this pistol, this is good to go. This is good to go. You are going to be surprised at how much of an improvement that is. Now, Baz on Blades, is it the best striker-fired trigger pull on the planet? Well, sure it is, because I've shot every striker-fired gun on the planet, guys. Hell, I don't know if it is or not. I've not even shot all the popular striker-fired pistols out there. I mean, how could I? There's literally like 300,000 different black polymer striker fired pistols on the market, guys, and you know what, I just haven't shot them all. But what I can tell you is in the restrike, it's fairly light. If you're going to compare it to double action, you've got just a little bit there. That's all your take up, and then you're into trigger mechanics here, guys. You're into trigger action. You're cocking that striker back, cocking it back, cocking it back. I can feel the wall, but it's not as distinct because I am already having to put that pressure on it. So when I get to the pressure of the wall, it's not as sharp and distinct a line, but you can feel it, and then you just pull through. The gun's going to fire if it's going to fire on the restrike, and then your reset there is short. It is as short as a Glock, guys. And then a crisp. The last 3 Glocks I've pulled the trigger on, 2 Gen 4 17s and a Gen 5, I can't remember the model number, but it's the long slide 40 Smith & Wesson. The triggers were not as crisp as this. Just the feel of the brake was not as crisp. So trigger, good to go. This trigger, it's okay. The trigger itself is okay. The trigger pull's okay. The safety, worst I've ever felt. That's going to go. That just tinkering single action only trigger is going to go in there, and we've got to hurry up. There's something else major I've got to talk about. We'll talk about a minor change that will make a difference, and that's the sights. I don't have the factory sights on my G2C here. I've got, what do I have on here? True Glow, whatever their Pro Tritium whatevers are. They're a almost perfect fit, guys. The front sight was a nightmare to get on. I basically had to press it on. But there is a change in the factory sights. These are no longer the adjustable rear sight that's on the G2C. So you only have windage adjustment here, and that is you loosen the set screw and then you drift that sight side to side, retighten the set screw, you're good to go for your windage. There is no elevation change for it. I did do my orange nail polish, and that is safety cone orange, guys. Basically safety orange that I put over that white dot. It is nail polish, and it is awesome. The sights are low profile. They're a low profile wedge type sight in the rear, Glock mount type of sight in the front with the screw from the inside of the slide. And they're okay, guys. They're a little low. They are low profile. I wish they were, you know, a 1/16 of an inch or a few millimeters taller, like more modern combat sights. But there are night sight options coming for this pistol, and they will retrofit back to the G2C. We'll see what's going to go on there. Now, the second major difference is in the grip. Now, you bring these two guns out here, guys, they look the same, don't they? And they pretty much are. The stippling's the same, the way it's patched. You just got bigger patches here because of more grip length. But there is a difference. I felt it the first time I picked this pistol up. The difference is in the width. From the front strap to the back strap on these pistols is different. It is 100 and some few thousandths difference, so nearly an 1/8 of an inch difference, guys. The G3 is an 1/8 of an inch wider than the G2 is. Now, as far as grip thickness, the grip thickness is the same, all right? And the way that the front strap and the rear strap are radiused with the more round radius as compared to a Glock that's more flat and square cornered. This is the more round radius, and they are the same width, even though it looks a little different because the base plates are slightly different. All right, guys, that changes the feeling of the gun. When I pick the G2C up, that 1/8 of an inch is a little bit of a difference in the grip circumference, so I feel that, of course. But the main difference to me is it makes the handle feel a little more round because you have less of a flat area in between these big radius surfaces here for the front strap and back strap. So you've got less of this sidewall, guys. It makes it feel a little more round. Not round, it doesn't feel round. It's still obviously flat, but it gives it more of a round feeling. When I pick up the G3, it feels much flatter to me. Now, when I say much flatter, it's a difference I can instantly feel. It's not an inch wider and I can't grip it because you can see the overlap here with my thumb and finger. Then look at the same grip here. It's not much of a difference, guys. It's about 1/10 of an inch difference in the width, but it does give it sort of a different character. I think that the G3 actually indexes a little faster for me because it is a little flatter feeling rather than round. And when I slap skin to it, it just seems like the geometry, the feeling, my mechanics of my grip, and the extension on my grip when I'm going presenting the pistol out, it just indexes better, guys, for me. Not that this indexes badly. Some people might think it's a subtle difference, but I think a nearly a eighth of an inch difference here, guys. It feels different. It does feel different, guys. It does feel a little flatter and slightly bigger because it is. It is slightly bigger as far as the width goes. And of course, it's bigger as far as the length goes. The thickness, it is the same, guys. I did put my calipers on it. It was within just a couple of thousandths thickness-wise, and that's just probably just variations in manufacturing. Let's see. Really, other than that, the pistols are mechanically, they're exactly the same other than the changes in the trigger group here, guys, with the safety. Again, I cannot stress how much of an improvement that is. I love the size. I love the feel. I love the capacity of the G2C, guys. But I would trade away this G2C and take a loss if they brought out a G3C with this trigger group in it. I'm telling you that right now. And I wouldn't feel bad about it. And I don't think anybody that's ever been in that conundrum of loving the G2C and not liking that trigger safety would disagree with me. I believe everybody would. It's that much of an improvement, guys. And I'm going to tell you right now, for whatever reason in that grip width, this gun sits so low in my hands. So low, guys. The center line of the bore axis feels very low because I'm able to grip so up high on this pistol. I'm going to try to get this in here, guys. Look at how deep that pistol is in my grip. Now I'm reaching around a tripod and all that, guys. But that's how deep that sits in my grip, and it feels so good. So good, guys. I'm going to be such a fanboy of this pistol. But those differences, guys, come on. Nobody's saying what those real differences are. And a total change in trigger and safety and trigger feel and a change in the width of the grip, those are changes that can affect whether it's comfortable for a person to use a firearm. And if you go into the store knowing what the real differences are between these two pistols, you're going to have, you're just going to be a more educated purchaser. An educated shopper is what most shops fear. They want to be able to guide you into something they can make money off of. Even in firearm stores, guys, they've got salespeople. If you go in there an educated shopper, you are a more powerful shopper for sure. And you know what? That's a lot of what this channel is about. You can live and learn through Baz on Blades spending his money on this stuff, and you've got a good idea before you spend your money on it. And that's always good. I love learning from other people's mistakes. You can learn from mine. So you're going to see plenty more of the G3 coming up. We're going to do at least 2 more videos. I'm going to get into a tabletop. We're going to tear it down, take a look at it, look at the manufacturing quality on it, and then I'm going to go into some minute details that are different between the two. Obviously the specs exact as far as size goes, all of that I will do. But you need to know this right here. This trigger is totally worth buying it over a G2C. It's totally worth it, guys. And when they do the G3C with the new trigger group, I'll tell you, I'm going to take a loss on this. I may make it the truck gun. I don't even have a truck. I'll have to buy a truck. I'll put it in the bug out bag, whatever. I'll be replacing it with the new version. Let's see, you know, I paid, it looks like the going price on these is $229. The low price right now is $214. So I was out the door in East Tennessee at $262. Not too bad, guys. I really like it. All right. If anybody's got any questions, they need more detail on these differences, or I just didn't explain it or crossed something up trying to do it, just let me know in the comments. As always, thank you for taking the time to watch one of my videos. God bless all of you, and we will talk to you again.